this is the information session for people who are interested in the rehabilitation and mental health counseling program. And we noticed that some of you and a lot of you are not very familiar with rehabilitation counseling. So we really want to use this opportunity to introduce this field for people who not really familiar with this field. And we also want to talk to you, not only that we have an on-campus program, we also have an online program that focus on rehabilitation counseling. So you can chime in or you can ask info question in the chat, and we have Dr. Leah Worthy and Dr. Brandon Worthy here with us as well. So they will also monitor the chat to answer your question. But we will have some time at the end for you to ask question. And we also have Tatiana and Greg here to help us operating the session. So next page, please. Yeah. So first of all, I just want to talk about what is rehab counseling. So many of people hear rehab counseling thinking that's for substance abuse or addiction. So it's not really. Rehab counseling is actually working with people with disabilities. So it's not only mental health, it also includes adjustment, coping, integration into the community, and employment. And employment is a big part of rehabilitation counseling. Dr. Worthy, do you have anything to chime in? Do you want to add something about rehab counseling?
Yeah, so rehab counseling, I feel like more times than not, it is about employment, like Dr. Chu says, and it's about finding individuals with disabilities employment more so than anything, I feel like as well. There are a lot of societal barriers that prevent individuals with disabilities from finding employment a lot. And so what you would be doing as a rehabilitation counselor is help remove those barriers and help individuals find employment. There's a lot more to it as well. There's a lot more arenas that you'll find rehabilitation counseling in, and a lot of other things to do as well. And so I'm sure we'll go over some more of those as we go along today. So.
Great, thank you. And then I think if we make it in a simple way, usually that's how I describe rehab counseling to people. Like for example, if somebody used to be a truck driver and then they got into a car accident, then they have to amputate their legs. So when they're in hospital, when they're going to be discharged, he's probably no longer be able to drive a truck. Then the rehab counselors will step in and really evaluate what's the functioning at the current level, what can they do in terms of when they go back to the community, they need to find a job. So are we able to identify transferable skills? That is there something the skills that he has can transfer to other occupation? Or when he goes back, because there's a new body, how he adjusts to his new body, how he cope with his emotional and physical limitation. How about the social support from the family? How does he work now, like coping with his disabilities, with the family, with the work, and in the society? So to me, rehabilitation counseling work with the holistic health and well-being of the individual, versus mental health counseling is a part of the rehabilitation counseling that they provide the mental health counseling. So as a rehab counselors, you get to see the holistic adjustment in people's life. So there's always a debate about where we put rehab counseling and mental health counseling. Are rehab counselors a part of mental health umbrella, that we only provide mental health counseling to people with disabilities? Or rehab counseling is under a rehab professional umbrella that we work along with doctors, occupational therapists, or any other rehab professionals. So we are actually overlapping. So you can see us with both. Like we can provide mental health counseling for people with disabilities and without disability. And we can work with medical professionals and then help people to in the rehabilitation process. So that's how I see rehab counseling. I don't know, Dr. Leah Worthy, do you have anything you want to add before I move to the next slide?
No, I think y'all said it really well. And I think you brought up a good point, Dr. Chu, that it's a very collaborative profession, because you are looking at your clients holistically and seeing what services are in your community that can help the person adjust to their disability or reach their goals in whatever way possible.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, next page, Tatiana. Yeah, so this is not everything rehab counselors do. This is just a part of the responsibilities. So the first one, like, yes, as a rehab counselor, you need to get training in doing individual and group counseling and any other mental health counselors skills. And then you also need to be able to do case management, and you have to be able to do assessment. So usually rehab counselors not only providing that's not their focus to provide mental health counseling, but they kind of are in charge of the plan for the person. Like if you got referral for a client, you have to decide, do they need mental health counseling? Do they need case management? Do they need support employment? Do they need anything like other services they need? So you basically have to understand a lot of resources, so you are able to refer clients for services that they need. And then you also need to work with employers, because lots of employers, they will feel like, oh, I am reluctant to hire people with disabilities. So the employment piece is a unique skill that you have. Because I can share my experience. I worked in community mental health center before, and I'm really the to-go person, because in the agency, you can work with client about their depression, you can work with them about whatever mental health issue they have. But outside of your office, what do they do? We don't know. So you can work only for their mental health issue, but they go out of your office, they are a complete person in the society. So I'm the to-go person because I know the resources because of my training background. I know what they can do if they have employment needs, if they have support needs, if they have other resource needs. I am the person they usually come to me, and I have a unique knowledge about disabilities. So for example, when you provide mental health counseling for people with physical disability, for people with diabetes, for people with chronic illness, as if you go to a traditional clinical mental health counseling program, they probably won't teach you that. But in our program, because of our background, we really focus on rehabilitation. Because if you see anybody, wherever you go, you will encounter people with disabilities. We are all temporary able-bodied. So in any stage of your life, you will encounter people with disability, and we will become people with disability or chronic illness at some point of our life. So I hold this unique skill that people always look up to me. And then anything else? So I do want to say, like, rehab counseling is we don't look at what people can do, we focus on what they can do. The strength-based model is a foundation of rehabilitation counseling. So we don't really advocate for, doing diagnosis and then focus and then develop a treatment model to treat depression, to treat schizophrenia. That's not our model. Our model will be, okay, for people has disabilities in the long run with their limitation, how we can see what they can do and help them to cope or adjust to either their mental health or physical health issues to be able to function at their maximum capacity. Anything to add, Dr. Worthies? No?
I don't have. One thing I was going to say is that even in the rehab field, having those skills of how you can provide mental health services to people with disabilities is important, especially when you work with clients who are, nonverbal. Because I teach the internship class, and we have a lot of students that work with clients in VR settings that are in crisis, and so still having that mental health background helps just be able to provide better and more holistic services to the clients.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, a
Next
big part of
page.
the whole,
Oh, yes.
I was just going to say a big part of those holistic services is interagency collaboration, I feel like, between mental health professionals and rehab professionals, or, if you're working with transition age students, you're going to collaborate with the teachers, the parents, so there's part of the holistic view. Really is networking and having those connections and being able to identify when a person needs additional services and have those resources available to extend to your clients.
Great. Thank you. Next page, please. So this is huge. So it will be a long list about what rehab counselors do. But the first one is rehab counselors. You can find rehab counselors in state agencies. So if you work under the vocational rehabilitation division, you actually help people with disabilities receive services in whole very broad areas, including mental health counseling, what's that job on the job training, I don't know, support employment, chime in like Dr. Worthy's. So a lot of things that you do as a vocational rehab counselors in the state. And then there are also private agencies that Dr. Worthy will probably talk about that later. A big employers for our graduates and veterans. So there's a huge shortage of rehab counselors in VA, and they are always reaching out to us for more graduates. So if you are interested in working with veterans, this is a good area to go. And then you can also be a certified rehab counselor who work with either the state agencies or the court to help judge to identify like workers' comp cases that if people get injured at work, then you need to be able to provide an evaluation and report to the court whether they should go for the training to switch jobs or they should get compensation from the injury. So there are lots of different jobs in terms of being a vocational evaluator. They are also for forensic rehab as well. And another areas of rehab is that you are an advocate for people with disabilities. So you will be very familiar with the ADA law. So you some corporates, they actually hire ADA coordinators or the ADA compliance officers. So we have a alumni actually working with Amazon. So lots of different agencies or industries, you will find that they are always looking for people who are knowledgeable about disability, or they don't know how to work with people with disabilities. So anything to add? I know there are more. Dr. Brandon Worthy, can you talk about the private world?
So with private rehab, there are a number of avenues that you could work in or arenas that you could work in. One being, as Dr. Chu mentioned, is a vocational evaluator or forensic expert. And so with that, you could do private rehab and work with litigation, and you could work with workers' comp, personal injury, also family law. And as a vocational evaluator in that arena, what you're doing is trying to determine employability and placeability of individuals. And so, for instance, someone's injured on the job, you might be hired to determine whether or not that person is employable or placeable. And so in the state of Florida, being placeable means that there are employment opportunities for you within a 50-mile radius from your address. Employability simply means is the person able to do a job or find employment? Is there anything available that they would be able to do? And so I see in the chat forensic rehabilitation. So that's what this is. And so as a vocational evaluator or a forensic expert, if you're working in the court systems, typically what you would do is you would review medical records, things like that. injury reports, accident reports, anything, all information would be shared with you from typically an attorney. And so you would evaluate the client's records. You would also do a vocational evaluation, a comprehensive evaluation a lot of times. You may also be hired just for job placement services, things like that. So there are a lot of different avenues that you could work in with that. But there are also other private agencies. I know there are also jobs. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the job accommodation specialist positions, things like that. What you may do for that, I've actually personally done this, and when I did it, I worked for a company who basically we would review medical records and determine what assistive technologies that person would be best suited for our clients and things like that, and help them acquire those assistive technologies or assistive devices, things like that, or whatever the job accommodation may be. It may not be a device. It may be longer breaks or more frequent breaks at work. It could be a number of things. Really, it's just any type of accommodation that person needs to help them be successful on their job. Does not cause an undue hardship on the company that they work for. Typically, is what that role would do. Dr. Leah Worthy, do you have anything to add as far as types of careers?
There's also a lot of nonprofit organizations that do like social skills trainings or job readiness training. So like helping people with disabilities prepare for interviews, build resumes, develop social skills, also independent living skills, any activities of daily living with the nonprofits. And with the nonprofits, you also get into more of that advocacy work depending on the nonprofits. But there are quite a few in the Tampa area of nonprofits that work specifically with different populations. And if there's a specific disability population you want to work with, it'd be worth looking into some of those nonprofits, because a lot of them tend to be specific to specific populations of people with disabilities.
Yeah, and I also want to add, some of our alumni also work at the universities or colleges to in the student accessibility offices. So some of them are the specialists or consultant or counselors in those offices, and then some of them move up to become the director of that office. So one of our faculty actually left this teaching position and went to a college to become the director of the student.
Oh, you muted yourself, Dr. Chu.
Oh, sorry. So I was talking about, actually, you can also work in a college or university as a disability, like for the student accessibility office. You can be a counselor, consultant, and somebody move up to be a director. So actually, we have a faculty who left this job and become the director of a student accessibility office in another state. So I want to ask, like, so far, any question about the career? No? Okay, so let's move on to next page. Yeah, so this is the job outlook. So the employee is projected to grow 2%, but I will say this is underestimate. The reason I'm saying that is that when I do a job analysis about rehab counseling, when we try to look into the need, the shortage of rehab counseling, is really hard. Like I say, where we put rehab counselors is under mental health professional or rehab professional. So if you combine rehab professionals plus mental health professionals, it's a lot. But this is specifically for people's job title as a rehab counselor. So I would say it's a lot more than 2%. I think the challenge for rehab is that it's not well known. So you do need to advocate for who you are, what you do. And that's what we want to promote, because there are demands. There are a lot of needs to work with people with disabilities. If you look at the growth of the population, we need more professionals who are able to work with people with disabilities. Okay, next page. So we want to talk about, I know all of you are applied to our rehab and mental health counseling program. So I want to talk to you about, no, can we go to the next one first? No, next one. Yeah. Okay. So this is the CRMH one. So you guys all apply to the on-campus CRMH program. So this is what the plan of study look. But I do want to tell you the only difference between rehab and mental health counseling tracks are only 2 classes. So the mental health counseling students, you see, they take sexuality and what's the other one? Then trauma-informed and family couple treatments. And for rehab counseling students, they take advanced rehab service, and they also take, can you go down? The medical aspect of disability. Other than these 2 classes, they are all the same. However, for people who are in rehab track, they will need to do a practicum, at least one, in rehab setting. So I really like what we have in the past, that everybody take the same class and everybody will be eligible for both. Because I strongly, as a rehab counselor who has been providing mental health counseling for people with and without disabilities, I really feel the rehab background helped me tremendously. But unfortunately, CACREP does not allow that. So now we have to separate them. So you have to pick and choose. For the mental health counseling track students, all classes are core except these 2. And you also have 2 electives. So what happens is that sometimes people just take the rehab, those 2 classes as their electives, and they will be eligible to become a rehab counselor. So it's not a bad deal, but if you are also interested in other certificate, then you will need to take additional courses. The trick is, if you want to become a mental health counselor in different states, if some states, they require you to do your internship in a mental health setting. So you need to be careful about where you do your internship. As far as CACREP, if you select mental health counseling as your main track and then finish the rehab classes and then graduate with 60 credits, you can claim that you graduate from a CACREP accredited mental health counseling program. If you want to claim that you graduate from a CACREP clinical mental health as well as rehab counseling program, then you have to do an additional internship, one in rehab, one in mental health. That's per CACREP. But for us, as long as you take the 2 rehab counseling classes, you can graduate from a dual concentration. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's the on-campus program. But I know here this year we also have a really high number of application. We just want to introduce. We also have an online version of rehab counseling program. Tatiana, can you go back to the previous RCDS program? So we also have an online program focused on rehab. You can see this is the courses we offer, and then Dr. Worthies will probably chime in as well. But the deal is this program, they do not have electives. They actually have the sexuality and the trauma-informed care, which means graduating from the online program, you will be automatically fulfill the requirement for mental health counseling. So if you, I should say, if you are interested in rehab counseling and you think you also want to have the credential as a mental health counselor, but the rehab counseling is your main focus, you can consider the online program. The trick, the catch is the online program is not CACREP accredited yet. We already submit our application, so hopefully by April, we will know whether we get it or not. So if you are interested in the online program, you do need to consider about timeline. Like if you are also interested in mental health counseling, you have to think about when you want to come to the program, or do you really only want to be a mental health counselor? Dr. Worthies, anything to add about the online program?
I think one other main difference with the online program is, if you'll notice on this, is that we split our semesters into spring or A and B sections. So our classes are 8 weeks, and at any given time you only have 2 classes versus having 3 classes or 3 or 4 classes at a time to focus on. So we split it up a little bit differently to allow you to focus on less classes at one time, but you still have the same amount of credit hours.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, because I think this program is really aiming for working professionals. I can tell you right now, most of the students are in our program, they are already in the field. What happened in the field is that because they are lacking of rehab counselors, they hire people without a master's degree, or they are from other discipline. So they need to come to the program to get their rehab knowledge and skills. And that's why they come back for their masters. And so most of our students are working professionals. That's why we have to split our class into half the semester. I think that's, and then Tatiana, next page, please. And because of that, sometimes that people, because they are working professionals, some of them really do not have enough time. So we also have a part-time plan of study. So in that case, at any given time, you are only taking 1 class. Okay, thank you. Go to the next. Yeah. So whether you go to the online rehab counseling track or the on-campus rehab counseling track, you are all eligible for CRC certificate. The CRC certificate, you can actually obtain it before you graduate. As long as you finish 75% of your coursework, you can take the exam. And then once you graduate, you can just declare your certificate. So this is unlike the state licensure, the CRC certificate, it's a national certificate. So wherever you go, you are a certified rehab counselor. And then in some states, like Massachusetts, I have to think, New Jersey, Louisiana, I think some states, they actually recognize rehab counselor, and then they have licensed rehabilitation counselor in some states. So I have the CRCC website there. If you go there, you will find that they have which states recognize what credential. So you will be able to find more information there. And the CRC also has a job board. So if you are interested, you could go there and see what type of jobs are available right now. Anything to add for CRC?
No, other than like the LMHC, you do have to take an exam to receive your certification. But both programs will prepare you for that examination.
Right, yeah. And I know for the state, I think right now, unfortunately, they just changed that. In the past, if you pass your CRC, you will get a salary increase in the past. But I think now they just paused that benefit. Okay, next
Dr.
page.
Chu,
Oh,
I
yes.
see it. I see in the chat that we have a question,
Oh.
and it says, it appears the CRC track seems specific. Am I limiting myself or limiting professional prospects by specializing in CRC versus the overall LMHC track? And so I thought we may want to answer that question before we move forward.
Okay, wonderful. So yeah, I'm going to read that, and can you start answering?
Yeah,
and I will
and
chime
so
in.
what I basically wanted to say is, if you're in the on-campus program, you're attending a program that is CACREP accredited, and therefore you aren't limiting yourself to only the CRC. If you want to be an LMHC as well, then you will have that ability with the on-campus program. Right now, the RCDS online program does not have accreditation. And so, as of July 1st, I believe it is this year, the state of Florida now requires you to graduate from a KCREP accredited program in order to qualify to become a licensed mental health counselor. So, with the RCDS online program currently not having accreditation, it would make things a lot harder as far as getting your licensed mental health, becoming a licensed mental health counselor. That being said, we have applied for accreditation and we are hopeful and we expect a decision back this spring. And so if we receive that decision and we receive accreditation, um, I believe it goes back 18 months. Is that correct, Dr. Chu? Anybody that started the program within 18 months of us receiving accreditation, is that correct?
I think that immediately people are in the program
Yeah.
will
So then
be
you,
considered, yeah.
yeah. So if you were in that program and once they received accreditation, you would be graduating from an accredited program at that point. Does that answer your question, or do you have additional questions for that? As far as the limiting the professional prospects as a CRC, there are so many jobs that you can do as a CRC that you it's really worth doing research, just going on Google and searching about jobs for clinical rehabilitation counseling because there are so many jobs available and with different age groups. If you have a population that you want to work with, you should be able to find a job within, to work with that population. Whether it be veterans, maybe transition age students, young adults, maybe you want to work with adults. If you're looking, to work in state vocational rehabilitation, those jobs are out there. So there are a lot of professional prospects for CRCs. I wouldn't say that you're limiting yourself, but if you're already on the track for becoming a licensed mental health counselor, there's only 2 additional classes to take to also become a CRC. And so by having that extra licensure, I feel like you're opening up kind of a world of opportunities in employment.
Yeah, so I want to add that yes, I think if you are coming to the program, unless you are really, really interested in working with people with disability, and that's the only thing, I would suggest you to do dual track, meaning that you do mental health and also do a rehab track. But if you only select rehab track, yes, you can provide. No, you cannot provide. I think the problem is the law in Florida just changed. If you stay here, you won't be licensable. No, I take it back. Sorry, because of the law change in the Florida, you can actually become mental health counselor if you take the mental health track classes, the trauma and sexuality. Because right now, under the new law, the new law starting July 1st, 2025, as long as you graduate from a KCREP accredited counseling program, they didn't specify whether it's mental health counseling, rehab counseling, career counseling, school counseling, you can become licensed. So it doesn't matter which track you are not limiting yourself. But I think dual track is not a bad idea if you are interested in this two area. In terms of the online program, if you come to the online program, you have to wait. Once we get accredited, then you will be eligible to become licensed mental health counselor. But we do want people who are really interested in working with people with disabilities. So that's the main difference. In the future, in terms of licensure, both people graduate from KCREP accredited mental health counseling or rehab counselors will be eligible to become licensed mental health counselor. Okay, any other question?
Yeah, we have a couple more in the chat. So how late in the program are you able to switch tracks? It looks like the tracks are interchangeable and that only 2 classes in a practicum are the variants.
I think that we don't know the answer yet. I don't think we will allow you to just switch tracks, but we will allow you to add a track, if that makes sense. Because to be honest, there's only 2 classes different. If you are already taking classes, because you start taking your specialty class in your first spring. So if you already taking it, you can just add another track. It's not necessary to switch. If that answer your question, that would be my suggestion. And then
I think we answered this one, but is there an online program for CRMH or is it only for the CRC?
for now, it's only for the CRC, but like I said, once we become accredited, you will also be eligible to become licensed mental health counselor if you graduate from the online program, but not now.
And then for the CRC practicum, does that mean you can substitute one of the LMHC practicum fieldworks for the CRC one, or do you have to do an additional practicum on top of the LMHC ones?
So in the CRMHC program, you need to do 2 practicum. So it doesn't matter. So you can choose one in rehab, one in mental health, or you can do both in mental health. But if you choose the rehab track, you need to at least do 1 practicum in rehab. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. And then we have someone else that says if they've applied for the program with the LMHC track, do they need to amend their application? If so, will they have to wait longer to be admitted into the program? Also, when will we learn if we've been accepted or denied in the LMHC program?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. You don't need to amend. Right now, what we are doing is the information section. We want people to identify or just help them to get some understanding about what rehab counseling is. We are already reviewing our application, and we are going to do our interview for the next month. And then you will wait. If you get shortlisted, you will get invited for an interview. So I will say until March, we don't know whether you will be get in or not. So I think around like mid or end of March, if you don't hear from us, most likely you are not selected for an interview, but it depends on how the slots are filled in. If we still have opening, we will continue to review and continue to invite people for interview.
And then someone asked what a practicum is, and I can take this one. So practicum is just field work. It's one of the classes you take. And during that, you have to get 100 hours of experience working in the field at an agency where you're either providing mental health services or rehab counseling services. And out of those 100 hours in practicum, 40 of them have to be providing direct services to clients. So it's really just an experience for you to take everything you've learned in class and begin actually doing work in the field.
And then there was a question about the GRE, asking, do you need your GRE scores to be accepted? And for the on-campus program, you do need your GRE scores. The online program has a possible GRE waiver. So if you have work experience or volunteer experience working with individuals with disabilities, you can apply for the GRE waiver and possibly have that waived. And at that point, you would not need to take your GRE. I see another question. If you get an interview, does that mean that you are accepted? So the interview is just one of the steps in the application process, and so typically after the interview, a decision will be made whether or not to accept you to the program. And at some point, and within the coming month or 1 to 2 months, you should hear a decision back, letting you know that.
Yeah, I think if you get interview, probably the percentage to come is like around 50%.
And what's the average admission score for the GRE, Dr. Chu?
Yeah, this is the information for rehab counseling. We are not talking about application. But so, okay, so we do holistic review. So we don't have a cut-off score, but if your GRE score at a 1 percentile or 2, like within 5 percentile, it's harder because it's a competitive program. But again, your personal statement, your reference letter are very, very important. So in addition to your GRE and GPA, you really want to make sure the whole package of your application is strong. So everybody has a possibility to get interviewed regardless their GPA or GRE. But compared to other people, if everybody is the same, the strong GRE and GPA will actually advance you or benefit you from the application process.
All right, I see. There's quite a few questions here. One, if you focus on the addictions concentration, are you able to work with people with an addictions, or are you able to work with people with addictions with this degree?
I don't quite understand.
Okay, that one's been answered. I apologize. We've got an answer on that one. So, if
Uh,
you were to dual track with the LMHC and CRC, would it be best to do one practicum for each track to get a varied experience? Yes. If you're
yes.
doing both, you'll need to do one practicum for each experience. Um, let's see. Do you think that there is a stronger demand right now for mental health counselors or therapists or rehabilitation counselors or both?
I think, like, to be honest, I think mental health will probably in greater demand because that's more well known and people know what they are. Like I said, I think rehab counselors, there's a great need, but it's underestimated. And then you have to kind of like advocate for yourself to get position because we have a lot to offer. But it's people call it like hidden gem. Like you have to find your own niche where you can
And
find, yeah.
another question to clarify, if we applied under the mental health counseling concentration only, but would like to add on the CRC track as well, should we notify anyone of this change prior to acceptance, or would this only need to be declared after acceptance?
There's no harm. Like I think if you get an interview, does tell us that you want to add that. Otherwise, just wait and see if you get the interview. But I want to go back to the previous question. Although I think there's more great demand for mental health counselors right now because it's under the behavioral health umbrella. The starting salary for rehab counselors are actually higher than starting mental health counselor. And from what I know, I think if you work with VA, the starting is it depends on the state. It could start with like in the 90s as a rehab counselor. But in general, when you work with VA, the salary is usually higher. Okay, any other question?
I would add, Dr. Chu, that if you're interested in the rehabilitation track during your interview, please tell us that you're
Yes,
interested in the rehabilitation track.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's move to next page. Oh, okay, great. Okay, so you don't need to you can just like turn on your mic and just speak if you have questions.
Somebody asked about should they email your interviewers or another staff member? I'm assuming if you want to say you're interested in what the track, you can either tell your interviewers, or if you've already had an interview, go ahead and email them.
Yeah, or you can even email Tatiana or Greg. They will be fine too. Okay, any other question? Yes, Jack?
Hello. I was just wondering regarding the professional skills for addictions counsellors, like course or module. Like wondering of some examples of like the professional skills and things that are covered within that. Yeah.
Okay, again, we are not here to talk about other track. So the addition track is another concentration and certificate program. So 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 there are 5. So for the concentration, you are required to take 5 classes, but 2 of them are already within the degree program, which will be the skills and 1 practicum. The others will be like professional skills, and then how do you work with special populations with substance abuse and addiction. And then I think there's another 1 class. I forgot what it is, but basically what we do is that our addiction certificate is aiming at the NCAP qualification. In state of Florida, there's a master level of certified addiction professionals. So all the education component will make you fulfill with the education component. There are also numbers of hours you need to get in order to be qualified for that credential, and you will get those hours after you graduate. So you are set for that credential if you select the substance abuse and addiction certificate or concentration.
I also added the link for more information on that to the chat. So that's just the link to the website, and there's some contact information on there for Dr. Vicki Buckles, who you could contact for additional information on that as well.
Yes, great. Thank you, Dr. Worthy. Okay, Isabella?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm loving hearing about your program. I just had a quick question. Is there anything us as students need to do as you guys are trying to get the accreditation for the CACREP? Is there anything us as students need to do on our side, or anything that we can do to ensure that the program, that if we do get in, that it is accredited, so that we are able to be our best selves from USF?
Yeah, so I want to clarify, our on-campus program, which you apply, are
Yeah,
accredited.
is accredited.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so you are referring to the online program, right?
Yes, I was just wondering
Yeah.
just about the CRC part.
Yeah, so the online program, we already submit what we have.
Okay.
So we are just waiting for as a matter of fact, this month is the month they are having their meeting. So we will,
Okay.
but we won't hear the result until April. So we are waiting, but thank you so much for your offering. I think right now we are just in the waiting mode. Hopefully we are positive about it, but we will wait. So because we have a really high number of applications this year, actually every year, I just want to ask you guys, if you didn't, let's say, unfortunately, you didn't get in the on-campus program, probably you will want to look at the online program and see if there's something you like to do to work with people with disabilities. Any other question?
And just to clarify, CACREP accreditation has no bearing on your ability to become a CRC or a certified rehabilitation counselor. That would only be for the LMHC.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Any other question?
Hello. I don't know how to use the raise the arm function. I just to ask because I did apply for the program and everything, and you guys are saying that you are in the waiting period for the interviews. I did receive the GRE that I'm missing for the program. Is it already past the time to apply with the GRE results, or do I still have a little bit more time?
So you're saying your application is incomplete?
Currently, that's what it says, yes. But I'm trying to complete the GRE results soon.
Yeah, so the priority deadline is January 15th, so it's passed, but the actual deadline for applying to the program is June 1st. So you can still apply if you have your GRE, but your application will be reviewed later. Not like right now we are processing people who submit before the priority deadline.
Okay, I get you. I understand. Thank you very much for answering.
No problem. Thank you. Any other question about the rehab counseling? If you have questions particular about application, just email us and then we will be happy to.
We do have one question in the chat, Dr. Chu, about it, and it says, so we would still qualify for the CRC national certification even with the online program? And the answer is yes. That's what the online program is designed to do, is to prepare you to become a CRC. And so I believe it's once you have completed at least 75% of the program, you're eligible to sit for your CRC. So once you've passed the CRC exam and completed the program, you would become a certified rehabilitation counselor.
Yes, yeah, correct. Thank you. Melina? Melina?
Yes, hi. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear me. I had a quick question about like the practicum experiences. So depending on whether you have a specialization in like the rehab counseling or like the mental health counseling, are there like specific locations for each of them that you're able to like do the practicum experience in, or is it kind of like the same locations like all together for all of them?
Yeah, so that's a question. It really depends, because some agencies, they only provide mental health counseling. So then you won't be able to do your rehab counseling practicum there. But some agencies are comprehensive. So they will provide mental health, they will provide like support services, housing services, so and then VR services. So it depends on agencies, and we do have affiliation agreement with either kind of agencies. And then we right now have around like 150 to 170 affiliation agreement. So depending on your interest, we have a database. When you come in, you will be able to search for what you want or what you are interested, and then you will be interviewing with them and see where you want to do your practicum or internship.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
No problem. Any other question?
Hello, me again. I was just wondering if there's any rehabilitation or like much niche work opportunity to work with people with brain injuries and that sort of rehabilitation.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for example, in the VA, they have the traumatic injury, brain injury unit. So then under the umbrella, you will be part of the rehabilitation team, working as a rehab counselor along with like neurosurgeon, occupational therapist, speech therapist, and then physical therapist. So they will be under the traumatic injury, brain injury unit. And we do have practicum and internship site in the VA under that unit.
Great, cool. Yeah, thank you very much.
And the recording will be available, right? Tatiana, can we send out we will probably post it on our website. Right, Tatiana? Or we will send it to you. Yeah, we will do that. Any other question? If not, thank you so much. We will be here for 5 more minutes. And then, so if you have specific question, stay here with us. And then you can find our website when you get the video, that you can just click and find us. Thank you so much for your joining.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was really helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye.
I thank you a lot for inviting us to do this, and I thank you for saving some time for us to be able to ask questions and such.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chu. And
Thank
thank you so much, everyone else, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see somebody has their hand raised. Shanice.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi.
Yes, ma'am. I just I did not realize this field was that competitive. So is it wise that we should probably go ahead and apply for next year as well? To be honest with myself, you know.
I think just, well, I don't know what suggestion I can give you, but just wait. We still have, there's still time. Like we are reviewing applicants as we talk.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Anybody have other questions?